there is concern about growing levels of racism towards the East and Southeast Asian community in light of the pandemic. Over the last year, the virus has been labelled and branded by many, including, of course, the former President of the United States.
Thank you very much. I would like to begin by announcing some important developments in our war against the Chinese virus.
Why do you keep calling this the Chinese virus? There are reports of dozens of incidents of bias against Chinese Americans in this country. Your own aide, Secretary Azar, says he does not use this term. He says ethnicity does not cause the virus. Why do you keep using this? A lot of people say it's racist.
It's not racist at all, no, not at all. It comes from China.
Kim Richards and Miles Ng from the anti-racism group End the Virus of Racism join us on the programme. Lovely to have you both on this morning. I wonder, Kim, if we come to you first, just explain exactly the level of the rise in racism towards these communities that we've seen. It's certainly anecdotal, something that plenty of people have picked up on, but I wonder if we can be a bit more specific.
Good morning. And yeah, so over the last year, there has been a shocking 300% increase in the rise of hate crime and violence towards people of East and Southeast Asian heritage in the UK alone. And while that stat, it's a stat, personally speaking, I know I have friends and family who've experienced this in their day-to-day life. We've heard incidences of, for example, 2 weekends ago, Dr. Peng Wang was attacked at 4 p.m. while he was out on a run in public by people shouting China virus, and words that have been popularized by role models and world leaders. So yeah, it's not... It's awful, basically. We already have a fatality in America. Unfortunately, an elderly Thai gentleman was killed recently, again by racist attacks relating to the COVID-19 pandemic. And it's awful, and not enough is being done to protect us, to help us, to support us.
Miles, tell us a little bit about your experience of all of this, and whether you draw a line directly from, Donald Trump speaking in the White House press room all the way to the experiences that you and many others are sharing right now.
Good morning. So I can speak about my own personal experiences, and many people from the East and Southeast Asian community would have had their own experiences and experienced racism to different degrees. Everything from my own personal stories of having people at a bus stop calling me certain names and shouting the stereotypical kung fu and karate noises, and something more cutting, and this is obviously way before the coronavirus ever came to head, is in school when a teacher, of all people, was calling out the register in school in public and made fun of my last name because my last name is Ng, and it's spelled NG, and it's quite difficult, even though it's a pretty common name in the East. She found it quite difficult to pronounce, and she made fun of it. And being 11 at the time, I sort of chuckled along, laughed along. But I think that goes to speak to sort of how systemic this problem is, and coronavirus was just the trigger to make it even worse.
I mean, Kim, has it perhaps been the case, for whatever reason, that there haven't been enough eyes on this problem, that there hasn't been enough awareness of this problem? We have, of course, gone through 12, 24 months where Black Lives Matter has been a really influential movement in domestic and international politics. I cannot think of a comparable example.
And that's a big part of the problem. So I talk a lot about this, and with my friends and with the wider British community, I often am met with, I haven't heard about this. When I was bringing awareness to incidences like Jonathan Mock, a Singaporean student who was attacked in London last year, the overwhelming response that I got from people was, I haven't heard about this. What's going on? And even when I talk now, after we've had so many incidences over the year, yeah, people just don't know about it. But I'll tell you what is the only time I actually really see East and Southeast Asian people in the media in the last year is when photos of us are being used on articles relating to the COVID-19 pandemic that actually have nothing to do with the East and Southeast Asian community. It'll be an article about something that's happening, and yeah, there'll be a picture of a Thai person, a Singaporean person, an Indonesian person, and it has no relevance. And this kind of unconscious bias, kind of really adds into these attacks and this kind of negative stereotype of us. And I do think plays a part in the increase in the violence and the hate attacks that we've had. But yeah, and that's one of the reasons why we have formed as End the Virus of Racism. We are a group of East and Southeast Asian people who basically want to campaign for more awareness in the media, in the government, within the government. We want people to know about this. We want people to take action. We want to bring in systems that support victims of hate crime and acts of violence.
Miles, you were nodding along there, particularly when Kim was talking about the lack of visibility of people from the East and Southeast Asian communities. Speaking as one of those who was not as aware of the problem, of the scale of the problem, as I should have been. I'm not just embarrassed about it, I'm absolutely mortified by it.
Yeah, and I just want to talk about fear. So, as I said, each one of us in the East and Southeast Asian community, and I'd like to stress that it's not just people of Chinese heritage, it's everyone from Japanese people in this country to South Koreans, to Vietnamese people, to Filipino people, to Indonesians, Malaysians, Singaporeans. We all now feel fear when we go out to the supermarket to buy food, especially when we wear our masks. I feel myself being very conscious that at any moment, because of the way I look, especially when I wear a mask, which is the right thing to do, that I could be a target at any point. And that's just because of how I look. And that's not just me. I know that is a feeling that is felt across the community. And especially, it must be especially difficult for those on the front line. A large proportion of our NHS front line is made up of Filipino nurses, and each one of them are heroes in my eyes. And they probably feel the same fear, but they have to go about doing their jobs, doing their duty. And that is something that people who are not East and Southeast Asian, or people who haven't experienced that kind of racism, should be very mindful of.
Miles Ng, Kim Richards, great to have you both on the programme this morning. Thanks for being with us.